Let us discuss function components versus class components. There are two ways to create React components. You can create them as function components or you can create them as class components. What is a function component? A function component is a JavaScript function that returns JSX. Let's look at an example. Here we have a function component and you can see that example is just a function and we are returning some JSX over here. So example is a simple function which is returning some JSX. What is a class component? It's an ES6 class that extends React.component and has a render method that returns JSX. So if we create a class that extends React.component and if that class has a render method that returns JSX, then we get a class component. Let's look at an example. Here we have a class component. As you can see, this is an ES6 class. It extends React.component and it has a render method, and in the render method we return some JSX. Let's discuss this one more time. So a class component is an ES6 class that extends React.component and it has a render method that returns some JSX. Let's go back to our function component and examine the code in this example once again. Here in the beginning we have this particular line of code. This particular line of code is using useState function, and useState is actually a React hook. You might have heard about React hooks. useState is an example of a React hook and we use it for local state management of a function component. So this is an example of a function component and it is also an example of the useState React hook. This is because React hooks are used along with function components. So when we write function components, we typically use React hooks along with them. If we come back to our class component and examine the code within it, you can see that there is some code related to state over here and here. Here we are initializing the state, and using setState we update the state. So when we use function components, we use React hooks like useState to help with local state management and other things, while class components have local state management built into them. So if we list the two ways to create React components, one way is to use function components along with React hooks, and the other way is to use class components. Function components plus React hooks is the more recent way of building components, and right now more people seem to prefer it to class components. You can build an entire React application using just function components and never needing class components. Because of that reason, and because function components are considered the latest and greatest, so we'll focus on function components in this course, and we'll discuss class components in the optional section at the end of the course.